Welcome back to Morning Express. It's now 24 minutes to 8. Now, there is a standoff in Kisumu County where the two gubernatorial aspirants, Peter Nyong'o and Hezron Mbugua, claim victory of the ODM gubernatorial nomination. The two have been issued with provisional certificates, although the party is yet to give the verdict on the matter. Dr. Hezron Mbugua was the third aspirant in the race and is here in studio with us. Before we speak to him, let's hear what Mbugua and Nyong'o had to say.
For those of our brothers and sisters who have participated in the electoral process and have some issues to raise about the process, the party has a machinery which is laid down through the various party structures, particularly the elections board and the appeals panel. And it is in our view that these processes should be exhausted as much as possible so that we do not forget grievances that may be raised during an electoral process. But we thank the people of Kisumu for keeping calm and keeping peace. And we ask for this peace to prevail in the interest of the development of this county and the interdependence that we enjoy as the citizens of Kenya.
All right, so that's Nyong'o there giving his acceptance speech, as it were. But of course, there's still contention. And joining us now in studio is Dr. Hezron Mbugua, who was also a contender for the gubernatorial seat, which is in contention. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Now, what is the latest so far? We do know that initially we had Hezron Mbugua and Professor Nyong'o being announced as the winners. You came third according to the results that were given, and you had grievances with that.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the people of Kisumu for keeping calm and keeping the peace and remaining restrained during this period. But I also want to say that when we went into these elections, we appreciated that the ODM National Election Board had a few challenges, like all the other parties. But we expected the process to be free, fair, and transparent. When Professor Nyong'o was pronounced the winner in Thurdibuoro, by the way, which is in a sub-county known as Nyakach, very far away and very remote away from Kisumu. Traditionally, all the county elections and county functions happen at the county headquarters, which is Kisumu. That was the first suspicious thing. But most importantly, this pronouncement happened before even the first vote was counted. In many places, queuing was still going on. Your own camera crew, as well as the other
media houses,
were present at some of the centers. In fact, when they came back from this pronouncement, they found me at Gowan Hall, where counting was just starting for the MCAs. We had not even gone to the MP or the senators or women or the governor. But intriguingly, we saw one guy seated in a classroom on a desk using a piece of paper and announcing results, saying that Professor Nyong'o had actually won. This same fella had the whole day was actually playing cat and mouse with us. We were unable to meet him as stakeholders because we were having issues with ballot materials. Some centers were getting very few ballot materials, but nevertheless, people continued voting and queuing up. So the first suspicious thing you could see even from the results which you announced, that all of them have got zeros. If you look at Nyong'o's figure, it's 143 something, 370 zero. Dr. Mbugua 62,300 zero. Hezron Mbugua. There is no way that all three candidates can actually get numbers which are ending.
Straight numbers.
Yeah, those straight numbers. He is on record. The chief returning officer is on record saying that those results are flawed, they are fraudulent, and he was not going to announce them. 3 hours later, and this was played even on Ramogi Radio and the local radio station. What is disappointing to the people of Kisumu is that somebody of the stature of Professor Nyong'o, who has always fought and said that, oh, we want our rights, we want democracy, is conniving to actually bring the party into disrepute. Unfortunately, the incumbent Jack governor, who also panicked, having seen that these guys had grabbed one of the returning officers and announced them, he grabbed a second one, went to Aga Khan Hall, where, by the way, the camera crews, including yours, were present, and counting was still going on. And this returning officer again pronounced him the winner and gave him a provisional certificate. I am in Nairobi today, this morning, because I've been summoned by the Judy Pareno team to actually explain what actually went on as we try to actually resolve this matter. But I want to say that people of Kisumu are not stupid. They are going to actually have elect somebody of their choice, somebody that they want. And this mustn't be seen that some people are projects, because I think when that happens, the whole process goes down. And lastly, Kisumu itself is actually the melting pot of Luo Nyanza politics. It has to rise above the rest, and it must actually lead the way.
Where would you place the blame in all this? Because evidently from what you're saying, it looks like there are certain powers that are playing behind the scenes to ensure that some people get that despite what the people have voted.
I think, first of all, I want to say that in many years, a lot of the senior politicians have always used the Prime Minister's name to say that I am the preferred candidate, I am the preferred candidate. While in the true sense, the Prime Minister himself is on record saying and telling all aspirants that he will work with whoever
the people
choose. And I think it is very wrong for people like Professor Nyong'o to actually behave in the manner that they're actually behaving.
Do you think they're doing that on their own?
I think they're doing that on their own because they've panicked. People don't want them. History shows that some of these guys have never actually won any elections fairly, so they thrive in confusion. They thrive in that confusion to actually bar other young budding leaders from actually taking center stage. Mm-hmm. But this time we are not going to allow them. They are not going to get away with it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the party structures are going to do what they've done in Homa Bay and what they've done in Migori, which is they're going to suspend these results for Kisumu and possibly nullify them. But thirdly, ensure that those who have participated in this fraud, led by Professor Nyong'o, are actually punished, so that it goes on record that we are going to fight to get the national seat with good governance behind us, showing Kenyans that we can actually lead.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll come back to you, but let me bring in Johnkakushi, who's a governance expert. And I saw you nodding your head there in agreement with Dr. Hezron Mbugua. And this is in regards to having our leaders not being used to a properly democratic process. Do you agree that possibly this is being driven by the fact that our leaders, some of them are not used to a democratic process? They're used to being handpicked.
Yeah, first I want to sympathize with Hezron Mbugua, who really came out very strong in the Kisumu gubernatorial race. And I think he did a lot of work. The only problem that he would have is that he actually may not have the direct control of the political machinery, which is available to Professor Nyong'o and also to Jack Ranguma. They have, for one reason or another, they're able to, have their say a little bit more. And this has happened for a long time. Mm-hmm. And you know that some of the politicians actually in Nyanza are politicians who would have been written off by their voters a long time ago, if the voters were actually given the chance to do so. That has not been happening. And what will happen is if other areas, the voters are given their opportunity to express themselves through the ballot, as it is in the Constitution. Everyone has this political right in Article 38 of the Constitution of Kenya. If other Kenyans are getting that right and others are not getting, you will see the ones who are not getting, they will start demanding. They will start saying, no, we want you to do better, because we want to express our political wishes as per the Constitution, according to the vote. Now, in Kisumu, what is happening is not anything that we can be happy about, because it's something that is likely even to cause anxiety in the county. I'm happy that so far we don't have real violence.
It's been peaceful.
It's been peaceful, and I hope the Kisumu people can remain that way. Yeah, but for sure, it is important that the party listens to these three people, and it is very important that they conduct a fair primary process, so that then the people of Kisumu can have a governor of their choice, but not a person who is closer to the party structures. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Makobeo, now that you're in Nairobi, what are you expecting from the party? Now that there's glaring issues, especially with having 2 candidates announced as winners, that obviously already tells us there's a problem right there. What is your expectation from the party?
I think, first of all, I believe that the internal party structures at ODM can actually cope with this kind of grievances and malpractices. However, what we expect as people of Kisumu and as a candidate is for the National Election Board, led by Judy Pareno, to actually stamp their foot and say that, you know what, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what position you've held in the party before. If you've made a mistake, we're going to punish you, and we're going to punish you hard to actually, so that it becomes an example and a lesson to other people. So for me, as Dr. Makobeo, who is an aspirant, the first thing I expect them to do is to say that what Professor Nyong'o and his team did is wrong and is enough grounds for disqualification. That is the first thing. And then secondly, the results must be suspended with immediate effect and or nullified, so that the people of Kisumu are given, they feel that a fair process has been put in place for them to elect the person that they want. The same way I want to say that the incumbent governor, Jack Ranguma, what he did was wrong. 2 wrongs don't make a right. The fact that Professor Nyong'o disappeared and his team disappeared with the returning officer to a bush somewhere and announced themselves did not give him the reason to do the same. So it appears that Dr. Makobewa, who is actually the wild outsider, I'm the one who was doing the right things. I'm the one who has done all the right things in the process all the way. I expect them also to actually announce the correct results. We had a tallying center. We set up a tallying center at huge expense to ensure that we could actually keep our own records. I mean, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that Professor Nyong'o did not even garner 20,000 votes. He did not even make 20,000 votes, according to our tallying.
Although the tally that we have here is 154.
So the tally that we have there was just concocted and actually
Are you saying
cooked.
it was just cooked?
We also have got written evidence from the returning officers now, which has now been, copies of which I have got with me, saying that at no point did they pass any results to the chief returning officer who announced this result. The chief returning officer does not receive results directly from the presiding officers. He gets them from the constituency returning officer who takes them for further tallying to him. At that point, not a single one of them, the 7 of them, had actually passed on the results. So we expect, before the end of the day, hopefully, that not just the tribunal, but the senior party officials will intervene in Kisumu and ensure that the people of Kisumu get what is right and their voice can actually be heard. But I also want to say that, you know, you are looking at what is happening across the country and even across the ODM zone. Some of these big guys who are now not good for purpose really fear losing these elections. Instead of actually going gracefully like what is happening in other areas, they are hanging on to every little string that they can get. Unfortunately, now, I mean, the people are not ready for that. We are going to get a change in Kisumu and across the Nyanza region so that a new crop of leaders who the people want will actually take them to the next level.
All right, John, you're a governance expert, and looking at the political parties that we have, do they have the internal structure to address issues like this? That's maybe 1. Or 2, do they have the willingness to do that? Because they may have the structure, but there could be, people pulling strings.
Actually, the question is, do they have the willingness? The structure they do have, they have the capacity to address grievances, because if I employ you as a PO or a returning officer, that is presiding officer or a returning officer, then I give you a document. And by the way, that's a legal document. Once you have signed it, then it can even be presented in court. So if you have been given that mandate, then and you have signed a contract and you're even on pay, then it means that you are under obligation and responsibility to bring back proper and fair results back to the headquarters, so that or even back to the tallying center. Now, where this is not happening and the parties are not taking action, that is where the problem is, because then parties become masters of impunity. They are actually the ones which uphold impunity, and if this continues happening, then you find that parties actually then start losing meaning. Then that's when you start having canvassing. So someone will be looking for money to wait for that last day. Then they try to canvass with the party officials so that then they are favored, because they know, after all, this process is just a nullity. It doesn't add up to anything. What is required is for you to be in good books with the party leaders or party officials, which is not a good thing. And remember, the other thing is that these parties actually are funded by the taxpayer. And once you are funded by the taxpayer, what is expected of you is that you will be able to deliver a fair and a good election so that we enhance the peace and stability of this country, the economic development and proper growth of the country. Because without a proper democratic growth, then we are not growing in other areas and other sectors of the economy. So it is a must, I would say it's mandatory, that the political parties must behave. And probably what we need to do is the political parties registrar will need to take action on those political